Hi, I'm Trinity Vandenaker. You know, the difference between having cattle on land and having buffalo on land is really the difference of 150 years. Well, now buffalo are coming back because people are actually raising them on small and large ranches. In fact, there's an organization out in eastern Montana that's buying up very vast amounts of land to reclaim it for buffalo. So is that a good idea? What is the gain of buffalo? Are they better for the land? Are they more profitable to raise? I don't really know. I'm more familiar with cattle and horses, not at all familiar with buffalo. So today we're going to visit a guy out here in Montana who raises buffalo for profit, and we're going to find out what are the benefits of having buffalo back on the range. Well, hello. Look at you guys, huh? Good morning.
How are you?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. This is like one of the most beautiful places on earth, so.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Good to meet you.
You
Ty?
well, yeah, Ty Stubblefield. Yeah.
Trinity.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
is the compound.
This is the compound. And how long you guys been here then?
April 21. Yeah.
21.
Yeah.
Okay, so not too long.
We're pretty new here. So we landed here because we came from the west side. We came from the Bitterroot Valley,
Okay.
and you know, we were trying to find a place that we could afford a chunk of ground, and we didn't have a big budget. Hey, that's my nosy bird dog.
Yeah, there's a bunch of bird dogs, huh?
Yeah, we bird hunt around
Yeah.
here. So anyway, you know, we were just looking for a place that we could afford to start a bison ranch, and that's how we landed here.
I see.
Price of things were still affordable on this side of the state, and like I don't know if we could.
You mean more affordable?
More affordable.
Yeah.
Yeah. More affordable.
Affordable is relative.
That's a
right?
relative term for
It
sure.
is.
And with our budget, like we could afford a piece of ground, but we couldn't afford a place with a nice house. Sorry, this is a family operation, so it's got my mom, it was my stepdad, my brother and his family,
Okay.
my wife, and hey, we're talking here.
Yeah. They're playing. They're having a good time.
Yeah, they've been cooped up all morning.
Yeah.
So we ended up with our budget. This was the perfect match, and you know, we'll have to put a lot of work into the place, but it's a great start for what we're trying to accomplish here. So my parents and my brother are living in the house.
Here,
my wife
okay.
and I are still in an RV.
Mm-hmm.
But we're converting the top of the barn. We're starting to work on the barn to make that our living quarters. So
Most of my life I lived in something under 1,200 square feet because I'm working on something else.
we actually, the first 4 months we lived in that. We slept in that. My wife and
That little shack there,
shed back
right there. Yeah.
On cots for 4 months.
Well, you know, see, here's the dilemma is land or a house.
Yep.
Because if you have land and a house, it's like astronomically expensive. So you got to pick one, right?
That's where we were at. And that's the sacrifice, you know, you make.
Exactly.
Because we didn't inherit, you know, anything. Like this is all a family operation. We all pitched in. So you got to make some sacrifices to live the dream, you know. That's the Pryor Mountains over there, and that's another beautiful place.
So the Pryors and
the Beartooth.
The Beartooth over here. Yeah, that's on the edge of Yellowstone
Correct.
Park right over there. How you doing?
Jeannie.
Jeannie? Trinity. Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks for coming out.
So how you doing living in this for a while, huh?
It's working.
Stepping down?
Yeah, we were in the garden shed. This is
good. Yeah. Except for the winter.
She did tell me this is because this is the second winter. She told me this is the last one.
I see.
I did promise him 24 some years ago I'd live in a box, and it's awfully close.
It's pretty close to that. That shed is actually,
shed was getting close.
that's pretty close. Yeah, that's pretty much a box. Yeah.
She's a trooper. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Thank you, sir. Have some coffee, huh? So, well, I mean, you guys decided to run bison. I mean, what even got you in the conversation of bison?
I'll make the story short.
Yeah.
In my work in conservation, I crossed paths with who's now a good friend of mine who was in his late 20s. and he was managing a bison ranch in Alberta. And he took me out to feed the bison one morning in November, and I was just in awe. It was probably 150 head of bison, and kicked hay off the the bale bed. And he said, "This is what you do for a living?" He's like, "Yeah." And at 27, he'd already had like 30 of his own animals. I'm like, holy cow. And I've always had like an admiration for bison, growing up, but I didn't come from a ranching background or anything like that. I came from logging. I grew up in Western Oregon, so I didn't have any bias one way or another, but I knew I loved bison. Just something about that animal that I really drew me to them.
They just interest you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I understand that kind of thing, because like I am drawn to a 280 Remington, and I have no idea why.
Yeah.
It's not like it's better than any other rifle,
Right.
But it's just one of those things. So
it's not a bad thing to be drawn to.
No, I mean,
so I spent 4 years researching bison. We took a ranching for profit class, which was a huge investment. But before we dove into this, I'm like, I want to make sure that it's a viable thing that we could actually make money at.
So where'd you find that?
Ranching for profit? It's online.
Okay.
Yeah, you can find it online. I think it's just Google ranching for profit. And they travel around. They have classes. It's a week-long class.
Cool.
They have them here in Billings a lot. We actually went to Rapid City, South Dakota for ours, but they have them all over the West, and a couple they'll do on the East Coast. But there'll be, how many we have in our class? Probably 30 some odd people. And they break it down like ranching's supposed to be for profit, and there's generation after generation of ranchers says, "Oh, we don't make any money."
Right.
And I'm like, well, do I really want to get my family drug into something where we can't make any money? So we took that class, and we all took it. The whole family took it. So it's doable. Like they prove you can make money ranching, but you have to treat it like a business, not like a hobby. So anyway, back to why we picked bison. In the research that I did, because I hunt and fish, I love to hunt and fish. Like that's what I've lived for my entire life, ever since I was that big. It's just genetic in me. And so I didn't want to pick something where my hands were going to be tied. You always hear, cattle ranchers, like they're always feeding, they're always calving. They don't have time to go do anything. Got to worry about water. And so I'm like, And so the more I researched bison, I'm like, well, none of that. You don't have to deal with any of that. Water you have to deal with. You have to deal with feeding, but it depends on how you want to manage it. And so we're choosing to try to manage without feeding hay. So we're rotational grazing, and we're trying to leave enough grass to last through the winter, because bison are adapt to that. Like that's what they're built for. It could snow 3 feet out here and they'll find the grass. So,
which is not like cattle.
Right.
Cattle, when you get a little bit of snow, cattle have a tougher time. They start losing weight. They have a tougher time digging down through the snow at all and getting that grass. So
correct. Yeah. And I'm not in any way saying bison are better than cattle. No. And that's just, they're different. And so they, all those things, you don't calve them. Like if you try to calve bison, you're going to get killed, so they do their own thing. They're more on a natural cycle. They rut like elk and deer.
One time a year?
Yeah, one time a year. So all our animals are running together. We got, right now we have, I think, 7 or 8 2-year-old bulls. And then we have 2 breeding bulls, 6-year-old, 5.5, 6-year-old breeding bulls. And we just run them together, and the calves, and run them all together. But they only breed, basically from like maybe the end of July through October.
Okay.
And they'll go through a couple of, if one doesn't get bred, they'll go through a couple of cycles. So that in a nutshell is why I picked bison, because they're pretty hands off, and they're wild at heart, and that's another thing. That's what most people are afraid of, but that's what I like. I've tried to get a lot of my friends around here to come help when we worked up bison, and oddly they weren't answering their phone on workup day. But
give me a call.
Enjoy that.
I will come help you work the bison. That'd be fantastic.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you out.
All right, so you're driving a Toyota, huh?
Load up.
So is this your hunting rig here?
Old Doritos.
Yeah, yeah. This is your hunting rig here?
Yeah, it's my universal. I use it for a little bit of everything, but
What is this again? Is it
It's a-
Toyota what?
Toyota FJ Land Cruiser, FJ.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, old school.
Yeah.
You know, Jack Carr's series of. This is what they used right here.
So I broke a rib, you know, so
Oh,
sometimes it's,
a little hard to get around, isn't it?
well, it's hard to get into spaces and out of spaces. Where'd you get something like this? I mean, they don't make Toyota, I'm sorry, this is a totally rant on, but Toyota Land Cruisers aren't really common around here.
No. So, we came from the West Coast, but I bought this probably 12, 13 years ago. I've always been a Land Cruiser fan. We actually have a 69 FJ40 too.
Oh, okay.
40 as well. But I've just always been a Land Cruiser fan. And when I had I've had daughters and stuff, the 40 wasn't enough. So we needed a wagon. So I picked this up from a guy who bought it from the original owner. And I paid $2,700 for this thing.
Oh boy.
And I really haven't done anything to it.
Roll up the window with this, you know, this
Yeah, not
this
electric.
manual apparatus down here. Love this stuff, but I don't even know if they make those anymore, do they?
No.
So I talk about all the time how many acres it takes to run one cow in Montana, and it's like an average of 15 to 30, right? But that's because most people run cattle on dry land. So if you're trying to buy a property that is just pasture land, you got to buy tons of acres. So what your guys are doing is using irrigated land. So if you purchase a piece of property that's actually irrigated, because Montana only gets 10 inches of rain a year on average. If you just look around, you can't see, but the hills around here are just desert dirt, right?
Sagebrush and
Right.
junipers, yeah.
And this is lush grass. Now you can see it's thick. It's not lush right now because it's winter, and that's because they're able to irrigate it. So it takes a lot more work. But if you have irrigated ground, then you knock that down from 15 to 30 acres a cow to, how many? Okay.
No, 110 or 15 acres.
110 or 15 acres. Got it.
65 critters, and that's counting calves. So we got 24 calves, and then adults. The rest of them are adults.
So it's a lot less, or a lot more animals per. Well, let's see, a lot less acres per animal is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
When you're able to irrigate. Now, the winter still gets you in Montana because during this whole period of time, which is 9 or 10 months, you don't have any growth.
Right.
So you're having to feed them all, or they have to graze on what grew in the summertime, is what I'm saying.
Yep. You have to plan ahead for that in your management plan. Yeah. So to compare this, we could probably run those animals on maybe a section, which is 628 dry land acres, probably ish.
He got into buffalo because versus cows. One of the reasons is because they take less time. You can have a little bit of time to go on vacation and do camping and hiking and fishing and hunting, right?
Right.
But irrigation, you said, takes a lot of time. So
Right.
how often do you have to do this during the summertime?
So it'll start. We'll start in like April and irrigate through probably October. But like I said, we've got a family unit, so we run shifts. It's like week on. So one group of family members will do it for a week, and then the next will do it for a week. So we get to trade that off.
Normally this is one of the conceptions that I had. It's like you got to have way more fence, like an elk fence or something for buffalo. But this is just a normal height fence. So how do you keep them in with this? Is it
Keep them happy.
keep them happy?
That's the key.
Keep them enough feed.
You got to keep them happy. You got to keep them in water and keep them in food, and give them enough room because bison like room. They like to roam. So give them grass, give them water, grass they like, and water. Keep them happy.
Now
Yeah.
this is electric.
So that is hot. Don't touch it.
Yeah, this is electric, and it's probably really hot.
It's warm.
Yeah.
It's a fair bit warm. A friend of mine touched it this summer. I mean, I've touched it a few times. It leaves a mark, but he reached over and got it on the inside of his arm, and he bit down and chipped his tooth, and it burnt his arm.
So this is like the Jurassic Park fence.
Yeah.
This is kind of like that, like the 10,000 volts thing. I've hit one of these in the middle of the night one time. I went to tie a horse up in the dark at my my dad's cousin's place, and I just reached up over a post and hit across both elbows. And
Oh yeah. If
that hurt. I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
It leaves a mark.
Oh yeah, that
And
was
you
bad.
Remember it.
I remembered it. That was when I was like 17 years old. So
Yeah.
you got the money aspect of it. You have to make a living at this, right? So buffalo don't. The number of buffalo you're trying to run doesn't produce enough income for your whole family
Right.
group.
I mean, it wouldn't have mattered if it was cows or
No.
bison or llamas or alpacas or whatever. You know, right now it's not enough, and so we're trying to diversify our operation and utilize some of the ground that would have been really difficult to graze bison on, because it's right along the river, and you know, our neighbors are able to just allow access to the river for their cows. But if we allowed access to the river for a bison, they'd end up on the mountain over there. You know, they just keep going. So we got to keep them separated from the river. So there's a couple of sections down here that are kind of in the floodplain that we're using for recreational opportunities. And this one down here, we've set up 4 wall tents, and they call it glamping. I prefer to call it Montana wall tent living. But it does have a queen memory foam bed in it. So it's pretty plush for wall tent living.
So these are.
Yeah, so we've named them after, you know, Lewis and Clark and Bridger and Sacagawea.
That's right. Okay.
So
So
yeah.
this is called glamping, and you can actually. Do you have a website or something? For
Yeah,
this, or?
we are on Airbnb. It's Bridger Canvas Cabins. That's what it's called.
Bridger Canvas Cabins on Airbnb. So I'll try to find that and post a link down below for that.
Ranchers got a living, right?
Oh, absolutely. Untie a knot that's too tight, and it's sitting right on the river here. You can see the Beartooth Mountains through the trees, and the Clarkfoot River. It literally is about 100 yards away from this tent right here.
So yeah, that's the.
All right. Wood for the wood burning stove and a big bed, and this is a plank floor, so
Yeah.
it's nice and solid. Cool.
Yeah, it's
And,
it's comfort.
Wood burning stove. Now, so what do you do for cooking? Do people bring their own food for this, or?
Yeah, bring your own food, bring your own water. But outside of that, we supply the bedding and the heat source and the lighting and stuff. And yeah, we're working on water supply and stuff. And we'll probably have like a barbecue on the front deck in the spring and summer, so you can buy some bison meat from us while you're here.
That's right. Yeah, get some bison and
Yeah.
cook some bison meat out here, and cool.
Cook an old ribeye out on the front deck and watch the sunset. Over
Exactly. Very nice. I hear some goldeneye.
there. Yep.
Yeah, well, there's quite a bit of water in it right now.
Quite a bit of ducks. Wow.
Yeah, quite a bit of ducks up there. Look at that. Are those
Those are mallards.
mallards?
Yeah.
There's some mallards taking off right there. So here's the buffalo herd. Now you would think with like cattle and sheep, you'd have much more problems with predation from the natural predators like wolves and grizzly bears, but you said you've had a little bit of experience with the grizzly bears even out here.
Yeah. Yeah, you typically don't have to worry about the smaller predators for bison. They're a herd animal. They're super protective, and they have that wild instinct, and so they'll coyotes and wolves, down here, and take a pretty big pack of wolves to have any kind of effect on these guys. But we did have a grizzly bear come through and grabbed one of our young bulls. He was a 2-year-old bull. He was my favorite bull. I was going to hold him over for a breeder. He was my buddy. If I was out doing something out here in the field, he was with me. Like, he'd leave the herd and come check me out, hang out with me, and get real close. And he was just real social and personable. And that grizzly bear got a hold of him. I'm going to show you where, but it was July 4th-ish, so right around there. But the bear, I'm sure it happened at night, and I think it was right on the fence line over here because they had a wallow on the fence line. But the bear got a hold of him, didn't kill him, but left claw marks and bite marks, and he severed his Achilles. And so I had to put him down. And as somebody who loves these animals, and especially one that I'd become, you're not supposed to as a rancher, right? You're not supposed to become attached to your animals. And that one I was really attached to. That was one of the toughest things I've ever done in my life, was have to put him down.
So, one of the things about, when you talk about like sweeties, wolves and bears, and they're talking about a lot of people say, well, ranchers don't lose that many, such few losses. But the problem is one loss is a lot when you're ranching of any kind, even if you can replace, even if you get some money, right?
Yeah. And even at that, I have to prove to the federal government or the Montana state government that it was a grizzly bear that attacked my animal. I have to prove that. And it was a one and done. Came in here, attacked my one animal, and then left. We didn't get, the only way I can tell it's a grizzly bear is the claw marks on the side of the bull are 7.5 inches from wingspan, claw to claw. That's
wow.
Big.
That's big.
It wasn't a cougar.
No.
It wasn't a black bear. Unless it was an alien, it had to be a grizzly bear.
What do you got here? Are these all cows then?
No.
Or
so
you said the bulls are in here too?
Yeah, the bulls are in here too. So this is a bull, and you can the one just to the right here, he's kind of facing that way. That's a 2.5-year-old bull. This is Mimi. That's
okay.
That's our baby. That's actually where it all started. That was our very first. We bought her before anybody. We bought her from the 777 ranch out of South Dakota. A whole nother story in itself. We got all kinds of stories, but she picked us. 777's like a 28,000 acre ranch, and the ranch manager took us out, showed us the herd just like this. And Mimi was a yearling, and they had 1,500, 2,000 head of bison. And Mimi came out of that herd, we were in a side-by-side, just like we're doing here. She came right to us, and we were out there for an hour, and she stood there and hung out with us almost that whole time. The herd left. She finally went and caught up with her herd, and as we were leaving, she chased that side-by-side for almost a mile.
Really?
Yeah.
Just curious and interested.
She was just, yeah. And so the ranch manager, a good friend of mine, Moritz is his name. He's from Montana. He's like, I don't know how you guys believe in things, but that bison picked you. I'm like, it was pretty weird. It was a pretty strange thing. So anyway, my wife convinced him to sell one bison out of his herd of 1,500 animals, and so
that was it, huh?
That's her. Yeah, that's our girl.
So we are about, I'd say 10 yards away, right?
Yeah.
Is this a smart distance to be away from a wild bison?
No. I would personally would not be this close to a wild bison. Not at all. That I feel comfortable with this because I'm out here all the time. They know me. They're comfortable with me. And oddly enough, if I bring somebody out, they don't do this. You must put off good vibes.
Oh, okay. Well,
bison are very in tune. And yeah, normally when I bring people out, they don't do this.
Well, I'm sure it's new people. It makes them nervous, and it does with cattle usually. But I'm used to being around cattle a lot, so
yeah. Your heart rate's probably still slow.
It's still slow.
Yeah. Good. And she's our baby, and she'll eat out of her hands, but she's also the most dangerous one.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because
And that's
he's not afraid of people.
right. That's the thing that people have to understand. Yellowstone Park has a lot of bison in it that aren't necessarily afraid of humans, and that actually makes them more potential for danger, not better for danger, because it's the same with grizzly bears. The more the grizzly bears and bison and wild animals become used to humans, the more dangerous they get, because the closer proximity they get before something triggers them.
Yep. So if they're not afraid of us, it's a problem, because now we're not a threat. They need to view us as a threat, or as danger, because if they don't, then we're just we're below them. And so like her, during workup is when we run them through the squeeze chute, and we vaccinated all the calves and ear tagged all the calves. She tried killing me twice in the corrals. I actually just sent her out. I'm like, I'm not doing this, and I sent her out because she wasn't afraid of me. The others are afraid of me, and so I can get them to go where I want them to go because they want to stay away from me. She didn't.
Right.
And the other one, that's one of the other docile cows that are super friendly, easy to be around. She did the same thing. She's got a broken horn. Evelyn's her name. I don't see her right now, but yeah, she was also dangerous. But she's not afraid of me. So those are the ones I don't want to be around in a confined. When they feel threatened, I don't want to be close to them.
Once they feel threatened, and that's the thing is once, I mean, they're extremely fast from dead stop to running. They may not look that fast, but they're fast.
30 miles an hour plus.
30 miles an hour plus.
Yeah, 30 to 35 miles an hour. And my brother they had gotten into the fence and stretched one of the spools. So he's over there fixing it. And they were hungry. We were pushing our limits for them being happy and getting out. And he was walking the line and had his back to her, and he heard hooves, and he turned around and she was running right at him. And and he had to actually jump the fence, and he stopped right at the fence. She's the herd protector. She's like, we're hungry and I'm pissed.
Right.
And it scared him. He was pretty scared.
And when they have calves, they're more protective and stuff too. So
Yeah.
the younger they are, I suppose it's same like cattle. When the calves are young, you got to really watch some of the cows. And I'm sure with bison, because they're a little more wild, I bet it's a little bit more intense as well. So.
Yeah. But when they're rutting, I won't be out here.
Oh, I bet.
When they're rutting those bulls, our two boys are over. You can see their backs way over there. That's our two breeders. They're hanging out over there right now. They're docile as you can get. They're super chill. But when the rut was on, all bets were off. They were wound up and fighting each other. And I tried moving them when the rut first started, and I was actually probably the most scared I've ever been around these animals. I backpedaled out of the field. But they're just amazing animals.
So what do they weigh?
So
the cows.
She's probably 900 to 1,000.
Okay. And what about
we got some different size cows. So that's a cow. That cow right there is probably 800 pounds.
And how long?
So you can see that.
Yeah.
That calf right there is almost as big as that calf, and that cow right there is probably 3.5, 4.5-year-old cow. But those cows that came off of Elk Island National Park are smaller animals because the feed quality was not as good. But when you get that cow right there that's smaller that came off Elk Island, here with more productive ground, her calf will be bigger than her.
Okay.
So
you have less into a grass-fed, grass-finished. And what we mean by that, grass-fed and grass-finished, people are very confused by this all the time. Grass-fed does not mean grass-finished. Grass-fed means, like, for most of their life they're on grass, and then finished means when like yesterday when we went through the aspects of where they're in a feedlot and they're eating grain and corn and everything to put the marbling of the fat inside the meat. So grass finished means they skip that process. They're on grass the whole time, right up till the point when they're butchered, and that makes a leaner animal. So let's say that you're equal as far as beef and a bison. for the amount of meat that you get on a grass-fed, grass-finished animal. But it takes a year longer for a bison to develop. So that's gonna, even if you get more out of your bison, you still have 1 year's cost in there. So you're probably, are you breaking even on that? Are you making still more with bison, you think, or less? Or
that's why we're in the infancy stages. I still yet to really dial in the numbers. And I would base that off of, okay, if I was leasing this grass from somebody, that's between $30 and $35 a head per month. And because it's irrigated ground, you know, that's not what you're paying for your public land stuff, your sage type country, your dry ground country. So this is high-end grass. So that's what I'd be paying if I was leasing it. And so then I've got to add another 12 months of $35 per month per animal. And so then I'm going to gain 200 or 300 pounds gross weight. So I still have to break that down to make sure that's going to pencil out. But at the end of the day, I'm here to make money off of this. And it's not to get rich. It's to make enough money to live comfortably in a lifestyle,
continue to do this
in a lifestyle
right.
that we want, and still provide, you know, a productive and healthy food source for people. So that's the balance. Like, I'm not here to get rich by any means, but you know, we do want to be able to afford to, you know, live in today's current market,
which is expensive,
super expensive.
And I think a lot of people forget, you know, they talk about, oh, you should do this with cattle and you should be organic and you should do all this other stuff, but they forget the fact that if ranchers don't make money, then none of this exists. Then they have to sell out and do something else. So this isn't philanthropy. They don't just raise cattle and everything for this lifestyle that costs them money. If it costs them money, they will not be doing it. So none of this happens without profit. Profit is the animal that keeps all of this land from being developed. I keep saying that all the time. Is the more the way you keep land from being developed is you make it worth the rancher's time to keep it undeveloped. So if ranchers can make money on their property by continuing to ranch, then that property stays in the manner that it already is. It stays open, right?
Which is how we as a race are going to survive, right? If we don't have this, you're going to rely on somebody like another country to provide food for you, which is a really dangerous position to be in.
And that's a whole different ball game, because lots of people have kind of brought this up, like, we don't need cattle, we don't need whatever, and we can just live on crops or whatever. So this is an issue that and I'll talk about it right now just for a minute. Is this, we've already done something like this with oil. We don't like oil, so because we don't like oil, we don't like to drill for oil. People don't like to drill for oil because of all kinds of you know, supposed environmental reasons and everything like that. That's fine, but the problem is then you become, if you don't actually have a viable option other than oil, what you end up with is reliant on somebody like Russia. And then when Russia goes to war with Ukraine and causes a huge supply problem with oil, you're in real trouble. So the same thing can happen with beef. If we take out beef because we don't want to see our ground be used in a specific way, that doesn't mean people stop raising beef. It's just you become reliant on places like Argentina, South America, you know, Africa, places like that. And the problem with that is, at some point when you run into a shortage, all of a sudden, or that country goes to war, now the price of everything that you normally can get for cheap because you're importing it, all of a sudden skyrockets to 10 times the price.
And they can charge what they want.
And they can charge whatever you want because we don't have any more land and the ability to raise it anymore. Yeah. So that's all I have.
I don't live in a big city. I have in my youth, and I can't. Like, I can't be in a rat race. My soul, I just couldn't handle it. I'd go crazy. I have to have the wild, and there's, not everybody's that way, but there is a sector of the population that has to live this way. Otherwise, you just lose your mind. I'd lose my mind.
Yeah.
You know, we as a race were, you know, we were designed to live in the wild. Like that's where we came from, and we've slowly taken that away and become what we are now. But
And I believe
like these bison, I still have a lot of wild in myself. You know?
Exactly. And I think we feel it when people go out into nature, and that's why they hike and to have adventure in the wild, is we have a spiritual connection to what we were created to oversee and work with and develop. And when you get out in it, you feel that. People interpret it different ways, in ways that I don't agree with, and you know, start worshiping Mother Earth or whatever. That's what I'm saying. But it really is there. It's a connection between humans and land, and that's what you can't even describe it, but it's something that you do feel when you get out here and you get out in the wilderness, and something people, they all feel it, but they just interpret it in different ways.
Yeah, you know, we've become a society of comfort, and the more comfortable you are, I think the worse off you are. Yeah, so we had a nice house. It had a, you know, heater and air conditioner and beautiful view of the Bitterroot mountain range. Yeah, we gave that up. Just, you know, live your life, mow your green lawn in the summer, and you know, go skiing in the winter kind of thing. And yeah, we gave that up to, you know, the other day it was 25-mile-an-hour sustained winds, and I actually filmed a little bit with my phone. And my brother was helping me, and we were working together on it. And it's like, this is the part that people don't understand, you know, that we got to get this fence done. And it doesn't matter if it's -5, -20, 30-mile-an-hour winds. This fence has to be done, or those animals are going hungry. And when those animals go hungry, they go where they want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we want to, you know, maintain our investment, we got to get this fence done. You know, when it was -30 out there, we're like, we got to bust holes in this ice, because if they need water. So that's the non-sexy side for some people. For me, you know, back to the reset button, I love being out in that. The more adverse it is, the more fun I'm having. I might be a little deranged, but
Well, it's a struggle, and I think a lot of, you know, people that came out here originally, they were looking for basically it's a way to test yourself. It's like going out and doing. It feels like such an accomplishment for us,
yeah.
for people, to go test themselves against nature and do something that nobody else has done, or very few people have done. I think we still have that, right?
Yeah, some of us do,
and
yeah.
It fulfills us to try something like this.
Yeah. And I like to field harvest. We have two different operations going on. We have USDA meat, and then we have the portions where you could buy an eighth, quarter, half, or whole, and I'll actually field harvest them here. And I'll show you actually the results of that when we go talk about the grizzly bear thing. But
yeah,
yeah, so I'll actually field harvest them, which I prefer to do because I feel it's a more humane. There's science behind stress levels in animal and have the effects on the meat. The USDA side, I have to load them in a trailer, take them to a processor. Mm-hmm. That doesn't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
I do it as a necessary means, but loading a bison in a stock trailer and taking them down to processors, not my favorite thing.
So you think the bison that got hit by the grizzly bear was probably bedded right here by the fence?
Yeah. So that's a dry wallow. Bison like to make dry wallows, and I think the bull that got attacked was right there in that bedded down in that dry wallow, and the bear came up out of the canal there because that fence was pulled out, that bottom wire was pulled out, and the bull's leg was cut on the front. I think that wire held his leg. The bear grabbed him, bit his Achilles. He had other bite marks, but it severed his Achilles. So right there is where that grizzly bear attack happened.
So what is this here?
So what you see here is the remnants, stomach contents.
Okay, of the bull?
Of a field harvested animal. So we'll field harvest out here. I'll shoot an animal in the field, and then I'll bleed it out. I've got a backhoe. We'll gut it, and then I'll put it in the back of a pickup, and then we haul it in. So, and this is what's left of the last harvest that we did a couple weeks ago. And so the scavengers, the birds and stuff will eat all the
Eat all the meat stuff, huh?
Yeah, eat all the, and then this is what's left.
And this, so this probably a bear came out of this.
Yeah.
So he can sneak up on them pretty easy coming down this canal. And if it was laying right here, jump through this, jump through here to grab it. Because this isn't electric right here.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it is electric,
yeah,
yes.
it's hot.
Wow.
And that's why I think that the bull wasn't in worse shape than he was, because that bear had to come through that fence, and bears don't like electricity at all.
No, they don't. No.
And so between getting kicked in the face and getting zapped by the fence, the bear, that's why he didn't do more damage than he did. Because I do believe a big grizzly bear, if it got a hold of a bull just out here, that bull, he probably could have killed him.
And what size is this animal that he killed?
Oh,
I mean, because it's dead. I mean, he didn't do enough damage, but he did kill it.
right.
So what?
So he was probably 700-800 pounds.
So I mean, a bear they'll take on big animals as well. So especially if they're hungry enough.
Yep. And I think he was hungry.
Apparently he was. Yeah.
Down here in July, he was hungry.
Yep. So one thing you said was that one thing you said earlier is if you put cows in here, like beef cows, like Angus cows, that wouldn't go well. Is
With
that right?
the bison.
With the bison.
Yeah. No, the bison will kill them.
The bison will kill the cows. Yeah. Okay. Don't really care for that. So how do you get a beefalo? Do you have to artificially inseminate them?
Well, no. I mean, they will breed, but they're a herd animal. They're a family unit. And so if they're young and you introduce them together, now I'm not into the beefalo thing, so I'm not like condoning or supporting this in any way, shape, or form. But
right.
You know, they're a family unit, and so basically, if you're like an outsider, that's when they're going to get aggressive and probably kill the beef.
The beef that they're not used to.
Right. But if you slowly introduce them together, then they'll accept, and then you can crossbreed them.
Beefalo, just for you guys to know, that's a cross between a buffalo and like an Angus cow. You don't see hardly any beefalo anymore. Years ago it was kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But I guess they're really mean too. I haven't heard good things about like beefalo being good to handle at all.
Tame the genetics.
Yeah, it doesn't
work out.
No.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Didn't take the wild out of them. Those young bulls, especially,
don't like the dogs.
No, huh? when I'm out working in the field, I have to keep the dogs locked up, because if they are running out in the field, those young bulls and those cows will go after them. And usually the dogs come to you, so now they're going after you.
Exactly. That's the problem with like a dog with a bear too. Is if you have a dog along, and your dog gets scared and comes back to you, it's just bringing the bear right to you.
Yep.
So now we're going to try to walk out here with these bulls a little bit, which means we won't have a fence or a vehicle to hide behind.
Nope.
Just so you know, this is what you don't want to do in the wild for sure.
And I wouldn't do this, like if I didn't know these animals, I wouldn't be doing this. I know my boy's pretty good though.
And obviously, that does not mean that you should totally trust your animals regardless, because, I mean, even when you know them, occasionally animals will be animals. And so you're always taking a risk when you do something, even with animals you know. I mean, obviously, I'm living proof of that with a broken rib.
Yeah.
You know a horse, but you sometimes you take a risk and it doesn't pay off. So
when we were out there earlier, with Mimi, number 32, I was nervous.
Yeah.
I mean, I trust her at that distance.
Exactly.
Not any
holy.
Not whole.
Not willing to bet your life on.
No way would I bet my life on it. Knowing that the Land Cruiser was right there to get behind and dance around, I felt comfortable enough to be there. But yeah, it's like you said, you don't trust them wholeheartedly.
Nope.
Talk to them so they know it's me.
Exactly. No,
Hey,
somebody's
Bubba.
coming up.
It's okay, buddy. So on Bison, so see how his
Yep.
his tail's up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
There, it's okay, bub. That's he's either pooping or that's a sign that they're irritated. So you can see that tail just kind of straight out, going like this. He might be a little irritated right now. So that's what you look for when you're around bison is what is their tail doing. If he was pissed, that tail would be straight up and we'd be in trouble.
Yeah, but at that point, it's too late for us.
Right now, it's too late. We ain't getting to that fence before they're getting to us.
No way. No way.
It's okay, bud. It's okay, Bubba.
But this is,
So
I got a pretty good shot from here anyway with this camera. GoPro would be really tough.
Yeah. That's
Those mountains back there too. It's nice.
it's Elvis and Beefcake.
Elvis and Beefcake,
yeah.
and these are the bulls.
These are breeders. The front two, the one to the left is a 2.5-year-old bull, and I really like that he's out here with them because it shows that he's got some dominant qualities. So he might be one that
And what
we hold back for a breeder.
what do these weigh?
They're probably pretty close to 2,000 pounds, 1,700 to 2,000, somewhere in there.
That's big.
It's not very often
pretty
he's
good.
raised his tail at me. I can count on like 3 times he's ever done that.
Yeah. They're more comfortable when they can see you clearly. It's the same thing with horses and everything. In stuff like this that's tall, they have a much harder time. They can't see all of you, so that makes them more nervous about what you actually are. If it is what they think or not, or so you're not seeing all the animal here,
Yeah.
and they're not as comfortable.
And their eyesight isn't keen.
Isn't as great.
They're not like an antelope or,
Yeah.
and there's not as keen. But there you go. Drop that tail, bud. Yeah, they're my boys.
Mm-hmm.
So this is downstairs, yeah.
So this is where you're going to build into a house here?
Yeah, yep. So
the
the
whole-
upstairs we're converting to our living quarters, and the
Okay.
downstairs here will be productivity.
Productivity?
Yeah,
Like
the wife's gonna do leather making stuff. you know,
Okay.
some building purses and that sort of thing, bison leather type stuff. And we'll probably have a food processing room down here for canning and processing our own food, garden stuff. I'm sure there'll be a reloading room down here.
I'm sure. Yeah. We're going to have one of those.
Yep.
And this will be where you live up here.
Yeah, we'll live up here. Yeah.
And I'm assuming the stairs will be a little different.
The stairs will be different. Yeah.
These are a little steep, maybe.
Don't mind the dog.
No.
Yeah, this
Those are a little bit steep.
is steep. This was actually an old sheep barn.
Okay.
They had the sheep would spend the winter up here and they'd shear them and lamb them and stuff. But yeah, we're gonna convert this amazing architecture.
How old is this barn, do you
It
know?
was built in the early 1900s.
These are such cool old buildings.
Well, what's odd is it's concrete.
Yeah, you can see the planks where they used planks here as forms. You can kind of tell that it's boards, which is not
Yeah,
a lot of
boards.
not the modern
No.
way of doing it. So that's older.
And using concrete back in that day was really unique.
Yes.
Something unique to this area. But it's like 10 inches thick.
Oh,
10 and 12. It kind of steps up right there.
oh yeah, yeah.
And then the foundation.
That is pretty thick.
24 inches thick.
24 inches.
Yeah, it's a lot of concrete.
That's a big old. They didn't have engineers. They just wanted to do it right.
Yep.
They're like, we'll
Overbuild.
make sure it's overdone. Yeah. So, pretty thick concrete going in there.
Yeah, that's
That ought to hold it up.
8 inches.
Yep. That ought to hold you up.
It'll hold it up. This is half of them, but these are going to be the beams.
Oh wow, that is big. Yeah.
Those are going to be the beams. And
That's a
then
big old. What is that? 10 inches?
10
or
inches, yeah.
10 by
So
10s.
We'll replace these with those,
Gotcha.
and yeah,
Well, that'll.
we're gonna have parties up there and not
Yeah,
worry about
darn
falling
right.
through the floor.
Lots of weight. It'll handle lots of weight.
Yep.
Yeah, and those are the some more of them.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank Ty. It was such a great time out here to kind of get to see your operation and what you're doing and what you're looking forward to in the future, and seeing the buffalo. We learned a ton. I learned a huge amount because I just don't understand buffalo very much. But it's always good to talk to somebody who's doing it, and also kind of learning from a first generation person who's getting started in something like this, agriculture, ranching. Even though it's ranching. It's still ranching, whether you're ranching buffalo or ranching cattle. So,
well, we really appreciate you coming out and appreciate your open-mindedness. Like it's a hard thing to find in today's world, is some willingness to learn and understand something from a different vantage points. It's pretty awesome. And yeah, we're glad you came. You picked a beautiful day to do
oh
it.
yeah, man, the wind isn't even blowing.
No.
I'm shocked.
No wind, a little sunshine. It warmed up to like 23 degrees.
Yeah, beautiful out
Yeah,
here.
beautiful day, and just the opportunity to educate people. I think that's what I appreciate most. Is you got a pretty big following, and I hope a lot of people learn something from this. And
Well, absolutely, and I did too. And it's one of those things where I really believe that you can't really make a lot of us. We make a lot of assumptions without knowing, and it's so much better to find things out. I don't think there's like a lot of what we think is, oh, this is the right way, that's the wrong way. It has nothing to do with wrong or right. There's all kinds of ways to do things. It's just what's better for somebody's situation and what they enjoy better. And it's good to learn all of it.
yeah,
so much fun.
Different isn't always wrong.
That's right.
Or right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, appreciate that.
So, well, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming out. Appreciate it.